What is one thing that every single doctor should be talking about, but far too people are? The vagus nerve. Research now and continuing to come out is connecting vagus nerve more and more to neurodevelopmental problems with our kiddos. When the vagus nerve isn't working right, things are starting to happen like autism, ADHD, anxiety, sensory processing, seizures, epilepsy. All of these challenges our kiddos are having, a lot of them can be linked back to vagus nerve dysfunction and disorders. So if you're a parent of a kiddo who's struggling with one of these problems and you want to know the root, why is this happening to my kiddo? What can I do different? How can I help my kiddo naturally? Keep watching. This video is for you. Now, I want to tell you about a little guy in our office. I say little, he's not that little. He's awesome. He's an older kiddo. And he came into our office and things were not going well, wasn't loving life, wasn't happy with just everything, right? Just one of those kiddos, older kiddos, who you can just tell is having some of that depression, having seizures, having struggles, supposed to be going through the normal teenage stuff, but just really held back, not really interactive, making friends, thriving, excited for the next step. This just wasn't him. He was just so pulled in, just so unhappy all the time. And vagus nerve was really, really shut off for this kiddo. He was not healthy, happy, and thriving. His vagus nerve couldn't regulate his emotions, couldn't regulate his behavior, couldn't regulate to the point of seizures. His body kept trying to use seizures are the ultimate nervous system reset, ultimate brain reset. His body would go into multiple seizures a night, trying to reset the nervous system, but he would come back to the same unbalanced, poor vagal nerve function and just start the struggle all over again. And just even the way he looked, he was so pulled down, looked so much shorter than he was, and getting through care with him and getting that vagus nerve stimulated, he's a whole different person. Has a steady job and loves it. He looks like 2 feet taller. I mean, he's tall to start with, but just looks so much taller. He's happier, makes eye contact, smiles, is friendly. All of these things nobody would have said about him before, but he's thriving. Just such an amazing kiddo. And I know his life, his future, his capability, his end goal, his just potential is so much better when that vagus nerve could start working again. Amazing, amazing kiddo, you guys. I'm so sorry. And he's not an isolated case, right? We get to work with this through all of these conditions every single day. And if there's one thing that I could teach parents, if you could hear me on this, is that vagus nerve, there's a connection between vagal nerve dysfunction and birth trauma, early intervention, birth interventions, birth trauma, and early exposure to toxins. So many times we have something like, a C-section, vacuum extraction, forceps, manual assist, and ECV, all this stuff, right? All this trauma around birth. And then that's it. Baby comes out and baby's okay and mom's okay and everyone celebrates, right? But there's a lot of damage that can be done during that. And there's a lot of recovery that needs to be done post-trauma, post that birth trauma. Vagus nerve is by far the single most important nerve in the body. It's literally called the wandering nerve. It's got its hands in almost every single vital function in the body. So it's going to control many of the core developmental things for our children and many of the core neurodevelopmental functions for our kiddos. And so we're going to look at everything from eating, sleeping, pooping, immune, speech, communication, motor development, emotional regulation. It really has its hands in a lot of pots because there's so much sensory information that comes in from the vagus nerve. Sensory information tells the brain what's going on. Brain makes a decision, comes back with a behavior. Bad info in, bad behavior back out. And when I say behavior, that can be behavior like you're thinking. It could be behavior of the gut, behavior of the immune system, behavior of all of these things, right? So if this goes wrong and vagus nerve isn't working right, we call it the perfect storm, and we see a myriad of health challenges fall into this. I know I'm covering a lot of different conditions from autism, ADHD, seizures, all of these. Each challenge shows up different for every kiddo. Every kiddo is super unique, right? So your kiddo's challenge might be autism after a birth trauma or early toxic exposure. Another kid's might look like sensory processing. So there really is a lot of different ways that this can show up in kiddos. And so this is how this works. We get in and we damage or injure that vagus nerve with birth trauma. Like I was talking about before, vacuum, forceps, manual assist, C-section, the cords wrap. We do an ECV, all of these things. And then the second one I talked about was early toxic exposure. So this is overuse of medication, early antibiotic usage, early steroid usage. All of these things can really start wreaking havoc inside that system. And then we get subluxation that shows up. Subluxation is the body's inability to deal with the amount of stress that's put on it, physical, chemical, emotional stress. And what happens is we start seeing early warning signs like colic, like reflux, like trouble nursing, like ear infections. And then this keeps building. The vagus nerve is still trying to regulate, still trying to come online, still having problems. Next, we progress into missing our motor milestones, trouble walking or toe walking, delayed crawling, delayed all of these milestones that you want to see. And a lot of times that starts bleeding into emotional dysregulation, tantrums, meltdowns, frequent trouble with transitions, all of these things. And so when we get even older, we get into the grade school and teenagers, now we're going to start seeing more of like hyperactivity, impulsiveness, depression, anxiety, bigger behavioral issues. It's the same problem, right? It's just evolving over time into a different struggle. So many times we're told kids grow out of it. It really isn't true. They grow into something new. It's the same challenge, but it presents with a new diagnosis at the next stage. Severe enough, long enough, vagal nerve dysfunction can even show up in things like epilepsy, POTS, pandas, seizures, these types of things. We leave it dysregulated long enough, like I talked about that kiddo earlier, it really can wreak havoc in just a myriad of areas for these kiddos. The vagus nerve can be measured. The function of the vagus nerve can be measured in a non-invasive, super safe 3 to 5 minute test. We run it in our office every single day. I ran this on a tiny 1-week-old baby the other day. And we run it on our older kids too, right? We've got the capability to run it on so many different age groups. And it's called HRV and heart rate variability. So this allows us to actually look. So I'm going to pop this up on the screen here, little HRV. We actually plot where they are with the vagal nerve function. How strong is the sympathetic? How strong is the parasympathetic? Where do they rate in this balance? And how adaptable is their system? How well can their system adapt to and overcome stress? So in this one, the kiddo has poor adaptability and efficiency handling stress, neurological stress. They're not going to respond well to challenges, and they're going to have symptoms. They're going to have problems from this. If this is your kiddo and you're thinking, man, this is my kid, I want to get help, I want to get this test done, comment below if you have a question, send us a DM, share this with your friends and family, call our office. We are absolutely here to help. We want to get this test on every kid because we want to find the kiddos that are really, truly struggling so we can get them the natural help through our neurologically based chiropractic care to help get that vagus nerve back online, help get past the struggles, and help your kiddo reach that full potential that you know that's there, but they haven't quite been reaching yet. As always, we are waiting here for you and your kiddo with hope, help, and answers.